Welcome to Conversations. I'm Suresh Kuchar. Revolutionaries, they say, are born, not made, but sometimes they live in our hearts forever. There are many revolutionaries whom we know very well through our books for various other reasons, but there are hundreds and thousands of them whom we don't even know about. One such revolutionary whom we are going to learn about today is Surya Sen, or popularly called as Master Da, a young revolutionary teacher who led one of the most kind of daring raids on the British Indian Army and, of course, gave up his life for it. Today, to speak about this and more, I have with me Giridhar Mamidiji, who needs no introduction, who knows history like back of his hand, and more importantly, he's been there, the place where Surya Sen memorial is there in Chittagong, the place where he was born and where he was martyred. Welcome, sir. Namaskar.
Rishi, namaste. Thanks for you to calling me on your show, and I'm privileged to be part of your show.
Thank you, sir. Before I'll do very less of talking and I'll let you do all the talking. I'll just ask a few questions to start with. One of the questions which I always have in my mind is why is it that I know that communists wrote our textbooks and the British also wrote a lot of our history. So they will only tell their part of the story. We will never come to know our part of the story. So the question obviously that will be asked is very simple is why? Why so? And how are we going to correct this kind of situation that exists today where only very few Indian revolutionaries are kind of portrayed as revolutionaries and others are just relegated by the sidelines.
Sureshji, I'm sure you know about this famous statement by a great philosopher who said, "Those who ignore history are condemned to repeat it." So, George Santayana, that's a statement. So, we are actually facing that. The problem is when you do not know your own history, you do not know your origins and your identity, then you end up with a lot of identity crisis. And so you are a fit case for the global forces to capture you and use you as a pawn in their larger games. Unfortunately for us, that game has been going on for far too long, and we have all been victims of it, especially the generations before us. Let's say during and immediately after the partition and the transfer of power. By the way, Sureshji, I keep using this term transfer of power. I don't like to use the word independence because nothing has changed. Only the white babus have given it to the brown babus. Same law, same policies, same ideology, nothing has changed. But anyway, point is, after this thing happened, the initial problems for those people were survival. They had to survive, economic survival, guzara kaise karna hai, how do we live? That was their first priority. So they did not look at all these things. It is your generation and my generation who are actually now trying to rediscover Bharat. So we are now trying to dig up and find out these things, and we realize that we have been dumped with all gobar in our brains. We really have ignored a whole lot of people who have done so much for this country. So it is maybe the next generation from us should actually focus much better than what we are doing right now. So our idea is to pass on the baton to them. But unfortunately, what we see is the kind of media entertainment that the younger generation is consuming. They are completely not bothered about history. They are not bothered about what happened. And so there have been some so badly disconnected from our roots that it is very tough to keep them engaged, to bring them back into the mainstream. These are the challenges that I see currently. So, but then I think we'll keep on doing our little bit so that we'll be able to at least motivate a few from the current and coming generations to look at these great Bharatiyas of the past. So
Girdaji,
you spoke about
yeah, Girdaji, sorry interrupting you there, but you rightly said, that we need to do our bit. And I guess it just struck me while I was doing, I thought this was a one-off conversation, but I think I will keep looking at different revolutionaries, some of which I have read about, many of which you know about. And of course, we will make it a series so that today's youngsters can learn beyond the history books, whatever they're learning today. And I think that is very important because history books teach us only what is written there. And that is what is a tragedy of it. Surya Sen, today's topic of discussion that we have, is somebody who's not known at all. For one, he was not technically a part of what is now called India. Of course, you never call it as independence, but before independence, of course, he was a part of the greater India, or whatever you want to call it, Dakhan Bharat. Uh, Born in Chittagong, martyred in Chittagong, as I mentioned before. But very few people know about who Surya Sen. Can you take us through who this revolutionary was and what was his life like, sir?
Master Surya Sen, Master Da, he used to be called Surya Sen. He was a faculty, he was a teacher, but he was with Indian National Congress, and he realized that just merely asking for more rights, asking for more, what do you say, autonomy is not going to help. We need to get rid of our country of these foreign rulers. So he organized an Indian revolutionary team, Indian Revolutionary Army, he called it, and a bunch of Bengalis, Eastern Bengalis. Unfortunately, today that's all part of Bangladesh. So he organized a whole bunch of people to do a surprise attack on the British defenses, British police, their ancillary units, capture arms and ammunition from them, and then take this further up. In the process, he actually planned to cut off their telecommunication, telegraph, railway disruption, so that they don't get support. And that too, this was in Bengal, in Eastern Bengal, quite remote. From Kolkata was quite focused on the rest of the country, be it central provinces, be it Delhi, be it Punjab or Madras presidency and Mumbai presidency. That's where they used to get all the money from. So they were probably not that aggressively focused on the east of Kolkata. So in Chittagong actually had huge population before partition. Even now, Chittagong has a significant population of Hindus there. So then he organized a raid on 18th April 1930. He and his revolutionary team, they raided the police lines, and they killed about 12 of them. 4 or 5 of their revolutionaries also got shot, and they raided a club. I mean, this Britishers club they raided, and unfortunately for them, they could get the arms, but they could not get the ammunition. Ammunition was securely stored, so they could not lay their hands on the ammunition. So what Master Da Surya Sen did was he hoisted the Indian flag there, took a salute there, and he declared, an independent republic of India. So that's a great thing that he did in 1930. We are talking about 1930. So almost we are talking about really 100 years back, literally almost 100 years back. So that's what he did. And so he was a very respectable teacher, Master Da. And then he took to such a revolutionary action, seeing the failure of Congress in pushing the British beyond a point. We all know that it is the pressure of these revolutionaries that finally got us the independence, not the Congress. Congress, after 1942 Quit India movement, there was no other movement that the Congress had taken up after that. So Congress claims that we got independence because of their satyagraha struggle and all. It was all humbug. We now know it. It was revolutionaries like Surya Sen who created that kind of a scare and terror in the hearts of Britishers. Their families were not safe. They could be attacked. Their armaments, their police lines, they were not safe. Their communication lines were not safe. That is a message that he wanted to send. Unfortunately, since they could not lay their hands on ammunition, they had to disperse into the forests, into the hills, into a lot of places. And British, of course, were very powerful rulers here. So they cracked down. Though their communication lines were all cut, their trains were temporarily disrupted, they could again restore all that back, and they hunted them down. So one by one, they caught hold of a lot of people. Some surrendered, some fought back. In the fight back, a lot of them died. Some of them who were injured were captured and then summarily executed. So it is a brutal kind of a repression that the British unleashed on these people. And Master Surya Sen went and hid in a small village in one of his relatives' house. So unfortunately for him, his own what do you say relative. Uh, One second. His name is Netra Sen, I think. His name is Netra Sen. Netra Sen revealed his location. He said, Mr. Surya Sen is in our house, so kindly come and capture him. 10,000 rupees award was declared by the British. So when he wanted to go and claim it, one of the revolutionaries who were supporting Surya Sen came and chopped off his head. Even Netra Sen's wife did not reveal who that revolutionary was who killed her own husband, because she knew that her husband betrayed the national cause. That is a kind of a support Master Da had. Then he was arrested, and in Chittagong jail, he was tortured beyond a limit. The degree of torture that he had to undergo was phenomenal. Finally, on 12th January 1934, he was hanged. But Sureshji, I will read out the one paragraph from his last letter. He knew that he's going to die. I think this is pertinent even today. Look at the kind of fervor, look at the kind of what do you say, emotions they had when they fought and gave up their lives for this great country. He said, "Death is knocking at my door. My mind is flying away towards eternity. At such a pleasant," he says pleasant. So that means he's going to the eternity. And at such a grave, because he knows that he's going to die a painful death. And at such a solemn moment, what shall I leave behind? Then he said, only one thing, that is my dream, a golden dream, the dream of free India. Unfortunately for him, that free India came in bits, and his Matrubhumi ended up in East Pakistan. The sad story. But he wished for a free India, Akhanda Bharat. Never forget the date. He reminded his readers. He said, 18th of April 1930, the day of the Eastern Rebellion in Chittagong. Today, we have completely forgotten about him. We know nothing about him, and we have betrayed his sacrifice and his memory. So he continues. He says, write in lead letters in the core of your hearts the names of the patriots who have sacrificed their lives at the altar of India's freedom. Just imagine, Sureshji, the kind of emotion that he expressed in this one particular paragraph. And as I said, he was tortured on 12th of April 1934, he was hanged. He was caught in 1933. In less than 1 year, he was hanged. We can understand how the justice system worked under the British then. The Bangladeshi government established a memorial in his honor. And when Dr. Pranab Mukherjee, president of Bharat, he visited Bangladesh, he signed in the memory book there. I've shared with you those letters.
I will share with our
message.
viewers. I'll share with our viewers. But I think before that, Giridharji, correct me if I'm wrong. He was also involved in another ambush, if you can call it that way. He and I think his fellow revolutionary Ambika Chakrabarti actually looted the treasury of the Assam Bengal Railway for cash because he wanted to fund this movement. And I think that was one of his earliest acts against the British. And I mean, hats off to him because he knew what he was doing and he knew what would be the end result of it. But he went ahead nevertheless and did what he felt was right. More importantly, you also spoke about the Chittagong armoury raid. And we know that about 80 British soldiers, I mean, they say British Indian Army soldiers, we don't know how many of them were actual Indians. Even among his team, 12 revolutionaries died. And as you said, many were arrested, and he was kind of also hanged to death along with others. The point is, when you went to Chittagong and when you saw that memorial there, when you even took the pictures of Pranab Das' note in that book, in which he spoke about Master Da and his ideals, what he stood for. How did you feel as an Indian, as a proud Indian, that look, here is somebody who didn't stand the regular part of the freedom movement. Somebody was different.
So for me, I also went through the same emotions like Surya Sen. One, it was it was a pleasant moment for me that I had the great honor of seeing a memorial to Master Da. And till then, I also knew very little about him. While I was going to Chittagong, I had read a little bit about it. But going there was a very pleasant experience for me. That in such a Islamic majority country, still there is a memorial in honor of this great Bharatiya was a pleasant surprise for me and a pleasant feeling for me. Second, it was also a grave situation that he wished for Akhand Bharat, a free India. But are we really free? One, politically, we may have got a little bit of freedom, but the country is divided. The place where he gave the Balidan, sorry, Sureshji, I don't want to use the word martyr because martyr is again somebody who sacrifices for cause of a religion, whereas let's use our own term. He gave Balidan. So his Balidan was unfortunately lost in a new country called Bangladesh today. Earlier it was East Pakistan. So that was a very sad and a grave reminder for me, but also a solemn moment for me that I was standing in front of a great Bharatiya, his memory, and that I had a duty when I come back to what is today's India to do my little bit to sustain his memory. And you have done a wonderful thing by calling me and asking me to talk about Surya Sen. So when I stood there, a lot of emotions went by in my mind. I had a drop of tear in my eyes, but at the same time, I was also very proud that I was probably one of the rarest persons to have gone there. I appreciated Pranab Mukherjee ji, our president, when he went to Bangladesh. Normally, what such great dignitaries do, they just go to the capital city, shake hands, a few cocktails, and a few public photos, and then you're off. Whereas he has gone so far down south of Bangladesh to Chittagong. And that too, this is not in the town of Chittagong. It is at least about 30, 40 kilometers away from Chittagong. So he has gone there, went to this memorial. That means he would have told the government of Bangladesh that I want to see his memorial. Then he went and wrote his message in the book. So that shows what a great man Pranab Mukherjee was. That he changed a lot of parties. He was in a wrong party, we all know. But still, the great Bharatiya, great patriot in him showed up there. So I felt really proud that my president has come and then acknowledged the greatness of this revolutionary. So all these emotions had overtaken me. So when we left that place, we never felt that we are in a foreign country. We always knew that we were in our great Bharat. So it is sad that it is in the control of people who hate Bharat today. So that's a sad feeling. But as I said, the same emotions what Master Da felt before he was hung, we all went through that. Pain, happiness, and a solemn resolve that we need to sustain the memory of our great freedom
Wonderful,
fighters.
wonderful. In fact, we can go on and on and on, but I think for today's generation who never heard of Surya Sen and his revolutionary acts as Giridharji enumerated, I will share a few photographs which Giridharji has shared. Also, some of the photographs from the internet where he was hung, the place where he was, I wouldn't call it martyred, as was said, Balidani, as Giridharji corrected me. Often he corrects me on a lot of other things, including my dressing sense. He corrects me whenever I wear a suit. He says, no, that is not the right thing to wear. And I stopped wearing suits, at least for the Indian shows. I stopped wearing it. But more importantly, for those young Indians who really want to know about Surya Sen, the two movies that were brought out. One was Ashutosh Gaurikar directed a film called Khele Hum Ji Jaan Se in 2010 about Surya Sen's life. Abhishek Bachchan
Abhishek
actually
Bachchan
played the role of Sen. And there
and
was
Deepika
another
Padukone.
movie, yeah, another movie, I think, Girdharji, if I'm not wrong, it was Chittagong in 2012, which was directed by Beda Pratap Payne and about Sen's armoury raid. And I think Manoj Bajpayee acted in that
Manoj
particular
Bajpayee.
movie. Yeah, acted in that movie. And I think very importantly, today's generation needs to understand what pains our revolutionaries went through. We are enjoying the fruits of their hard work. And that I think is extremely important for us to understand and learn from from those martyrs, those balidanis, as was rightly said. And I think, Girdharji, there was also, I was reading that the residential halls in the University of Dhaka are named after him. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, yeah, and also a road in Kolkata and a few memorials are there here and there. I agree, but as I said, it has been completely ignored from the larger memory of this country. In fact, if people would have visited Andaman Cellular Jail, there were 12 of these revolutionaries were deported for life into the Andaman Cellular Jail. Their names are also listed there. From Chittagong armoury raid, the conspirators, 12 of them were deported. At least Master Da was hanged in Chittagong. These people had to undergo massive amount of torture day in, day out. We all know how Veer Savarkar was tortured. That at least we know because of the movies that came about him and a lot of discussion thanks to Vikram Sampath and many others who have now written books about Veer Savarkar. But we need to also know about the kind of torture that people underwent in the cellular jail. The political, prisoners. I'm not talking about criminals. Criminals also were sent there. But political prisoners, 12 political prisoners of Master Das, Surya Sen were also incarcerated there and tortured. So it's a story that we should never forget. And as I said, we should all remember George Santayana's statement: "Those who ignore history will be condemned to repeat it." Our
That's true.
freedom has come because of the sacrifice of all these great souls, great atmas. So it is our duty to sustain their memory and ensure that this freedom is again not lost on the platter of personal foolishness. Sureshji, I would suggest that we all go for yatras or tours. We go to Ayodhya, we go to now Kumbh Mela is going on, or maybe Tirupati, Kashi, Mathura. A lot of Char Dham yatras. I think the current generation and the next generation should go on a yatra of people who sacrifice for this country, the great heroes of this country, the great Balidanis, great freedom fighters, revolutionaries. We should go and visit them. And we should visit war memorials where great battles were fought. Their memories have been preserved. I think that is what will connect us across the country. Just imagine Nuke Madong. Nuke Madong is in Arunachal Pradesh, where people from Punjab regiment, Madras, they went and sacrificed in the cold, peaks of Arunachal. How are they connected? Because they felt it is our Bharat. Why should we connect to Surya Sen? Because he is part of Bharat. Why should we connect to Khudai Khidmatgar, group, which is Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan's group? Because they are all part of Bharat. So I think this connection should be established and a new trend of yatra should start where we should go to the cellular jails of Andaman. We should go to all these war memorials the place where Subhash Chandra Bose first hoisted a flag of independent Bharat on Indian soil, on Bharat soil in Manipur. So all these places should be very holy to us, as holy as Ayodhya, Kashi, Mathura.
Girdharji, wonderful speaking to you as usual. I mean, you have nuggets of history which you bring out often, and I'm sure today's generation, forget the generation which is of my age, which is of Girdharji's age, even they wouldn't remember a name called Surya Sen unless they had seen that Abhishek Bachchan movie. But today's generation, at least the Gen X as we call them, or whatever you want to call today's generation also, doesn't even know about these heroes. But I'm sure over the next few weeks, let us bring out one by one each of our unknown, unsung heroes to the forefront and tell the people of the country that there is life or there were people beyond just Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru and others. There are a lot of other people who give up their lives without even thinking for it. There's Khudiram Bose, numerous names that come to my mind. And we will bring out the stories of each one of them. And Girdharji, thank you for sparing the time and speaking to us. And I'm sure that we will have more conversation as we go forward, as I said. And I mean, for me, it brings the tears to my eyes also. Surely, I mean, that is the kind of situation that we are in. That our heroes are not known, our heroines are not known. But today, people do what they want and claim themselves to be freedom fighters and awarded themselves Bharat Ratna. Real Bharat Ratna are people like Surya Sen. Thank you, Giridharji, and Dhanyavad. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Suresh. Namaste.
Jai Hind, sir.